Okay. Um, so I know I've published a video before on YouTube concerning how you can reduce fuel consumption on your Peugeot vehicle. And my focus on that particular video was basically on fuel. However, I know which has to do with the weight anyway, but I know there is more to that. So I started to restrict the discussion on just fuel on that particular video. So I decided to do a part 2 on this, on that same subject, and then emphasize more on other factors. So when it comes to
Why the carbonus that unlimited? How much?
so when it comes to fuel, when it comes to weight, you know, there is something that is even more dangerous than just increase in fuel consumption, and that you know, losing control of the vehicle due to excess weight of the vehicle or on the vehicle. Because there's something we call gross vehicle weight, which is not being enforced like in Nigeria. You know, every car is not just Peugeot. Every vehicle has a maximum weight or maximum. Or let me just put the word maximum load you can tow at that vehicle or you can put on the vehicle. Otherwise, the car becomes unsafe. You know, you could always say, you know, not just Nigerians, Africans will always praise 504, 404, 505 as being indestructible car because they can carry up to, you could, okay, I'm exaggerating, but you could say they can carry a house and nothing will happen. Whatever you load or put on them, they can carry it, you know. But it makes, apart from that, it will increase fuel consumption, it makes such cars very, very unsafe. So, for example, let me use 406, which is very common that people can relate with. You know, just because it has a 2.0 liter engine does not mean the same load one with manual transmission can carry that the one with automatic transmission can carry. Same engine, same vehicle model, same everything. However, there is a load that is safe for each of those models, depending on the engine model and transmission model to carry. Otherwise, if you're on a very high speed and you try to maneuver, depending on the situation you find on the road, you know, try to swerve out of the road. If the load on that vehicle exceed what the manufacturer, because the Peugeot always states, depending on the engine, on the owner's manual, they will tell you, if you exceed 2,000 kg, 1,900 kg with this engine transmission in this car, anything can happen to it. So what usually happens is in other jurisdictions, I'm talking about like in Europe and other places with regard as developed countries, they do enforce this claim by the manufacturer because the manufacturer that will make the claim, the car manufacturer, then the authorities in each country is expected to enforce those claims. You know, so but we don't do that, which does not mean we should take it for granted. So many accidents that happen, most times people don't really know the cause, or they will assume, oh, it could be because of this, it could be because of that. Even as much as, no matter how good your brake is, if the load exceeds the permitted weight of the vehicle, if you press that brake, you just look like your car, you know, you won't feel that stopping distance. You look as if something is wrong with your brake, but there's nothing wrong with the brake, but just that the road has exceeded, the brake can no longer handle it. That's why I'll use 407 for example. 407, 1.8 liter engine, 2.0 liter engine, 2.2, 3.0. They don't use the same braking capacities because the 2.2, the 3.0, they have more weight. So they introduce a braking system that can be able to handle that load, that additional weight. including the expected maximum weight of the car can handle. Because I know like 407, like 2.0, one with 2.0 manual, probably we are looking about 1,900 kg. That's like maximum. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm mixing it up. Maximum load the vehicle should have once, no matter what you carry. But then when you start, um, so when you exceed that, what it means is you are now running the car as if it's like a V6, which does not have the brake to handle that vehicle with that load. So in most cases, it's not just because even the engine, the gearbox, they actually determine how they balance the weight on the vehicle. They spread that weight. So that's why they could tell you this or this. So if it becomes too much, even without applying brake, the car can lose balance and then swerve out of the road. So that's why I usually tell people, if you want to do modification on your car, if you want to do some conversion, which unfortunately Nigerians don't apply. All they care about, this has a put a VCC and call it a day. Put a small engine, call it a day. You have to also consider other things that are supposed to work with that engine to make that car safer, not just the power. You have to consider the brake to increase the weight, because if you put a V6 engine on a 206, let's assume you put a 3.0 liter engine from 406 on a 206, without introducing other things that can be able to keep the car stable with that too much load on that small car, that car will be very, very unsafe. But we don't actually look at all those things. So my point is that extra load, yes, it will burn your fuel like hell, depending on how heavy those things you introduce on your vehicle. But then you also make the car very, very dangerous. You might not feel it when you are driving inside the city until you hit the highway and push the car beyond 120 kilometers per hour. Then when situation comes, if you're on a straight line, no issue. Until something comes up in front of you, you need to swap, you act out of instinct to swap the car or apply brake emergency, to place the car down. The consequences of what you did on the car will manifest and you see it. So there are cases where I'll tell people, if you are downgrading or upgrading from one engine model to another, you have to also look at your brake to know if that brake, if you are using 1.8 liter engine on a car, and that's the stock on that vehicle, and you want to put a 2.3 or V6, so you need to upgrade the brakes. It's not just to make the car to stop quicker, which is the reason why they put such higher performance brakes on such bigger engines, vehicle with bigger engines, but also to add more weight to the car. Because the engine, they've already designed in such a way that that engine, the power of that engine can be able to handle that extra weight than that the 1.8 has. So you'll be able to handle it and still give you good, or may not, the fuel consumption may not be as small as the 1.8, but at least it will be okay, or not that significant enough to feel the difference in the consumption. So you still need to, if every car that has, even 407, go and look at the design from 1.8 to 3.0, 508 as well. Most people may not know much about 508, but I will tell you, when you look at 508 that comes with VTR 120, that's a non-turbocharged petrol engine, and then you look at the accessories, it's like the most basic. They try to reduce the weight because it has is it 120 horse AC compared
I
to
can't.
the 160. So they try to reduce a lot of things to reduce the weight, so that the
That's
weight,
Moncana, Masola, Fima.
so the weight, please, can we move? If you're not speaking, just move so that other people will not be hearing.
Lion King, please, just a minute. Please, there's somebody that
Yeah,
is
that's
there. Can you tell him to mute his speaker, his
yeah,
microphone,
Oh,
please,
please?
because I don't want to
What's that?
cause myself
His name.
to.
You should please mute. I sent him. I private chatted him. You should mute his microphone.
okay, bro. Let me try.
Uh, so I don't
Just
have to.
click on the participant button. You'll see the microphone there. Just press on it. It will mute. You can go ahead, sir. You can go ahead.
Okay, so I haven't lost the train of thought. Yeah, I was. Um, so okay, aside the breaks now, I've talked about the need for you to sometimes increase the weight of your car, in as much as we're all trying to conserve fuel in our vehicle, how make it consume less. But then sometimes that may make the car very unsafe. So there are things you need to consider. Even the suspension. If you are going to put a 3.0 liter in an engine, you have to look at the suspension because they also differ to be able to make the car, because the heavier a vehicle, it's not really about how big the engine is. It's about most times the power, because 1.1 liter engine can actually have same power with 3.0 with the new technology now. So the bigger the power, when I'm talking about most especially the torque, engine torque, it can mess you up at when you want to drive, from stationary. I want to pull. If the torque is too much for the weight of the car, the suspension, you cannot handle it. You just end up in the bush. So those are things you need to do. And yes, it will increase a little bit more fuel consumption, but then it makes the car safer. But where I have problem is not those ones. It's when people with stock cars, as in no modification done on a vehicle, and then they will go and shoot. You see people carry like 120 kg of 4 adults at the back of the car, maybe like a 206 with a 1.4 liter engine. They carry two passengers in front with close to 100 kg. And these are cars with rear wheel brakes, drum brake system. That's basically any car that has drum brake, whether it's in the front or the rear. If you're on high speed, that brake is basically useless. If you want to understand what I'm saying, go and drive 504, SR, GL, 505, SR, all those ones they assemble in Nigeria. Then some 406, like the D8 with 1.8 liter engine. That's what you understand. Push them on highway, push it. I'm not even, you don't have to be on high speed like that. 100 kilometer, 120 kilometer. Press the brake sharply, you see how the brake will react. The drum brakes are made for cars with that manufacturers focus more on fuel economy. They reduce the weight on the car, so they don't need to put so much brake that will uh, give you that kind of performance to stop like abruptly. So when you now load and put so much load, just forget about those drum brakes. If it's the rear way, they are not going to do anything. So you now rely more on the front. And for example, look at 406 with that rear drum brake. You see the brake disc are very small, the front one, very, very small, including the brake pad. So meaning they made the car just to carry light weight, maybe few passengers. You could carry 4, but you maybe 50 kg, 100 kg, just you make the car as light as possible, because they've done the car, most even 1.8, most of those ones that come with rear drum brakes, they actually don't come with alloy wheels. The only of you can bet on from new, most times they don't come with alloy rims. Just have the users eventually change and put alloy, because alloy is heavier than steel wheels. Some alloy, like the ones they design, not actually stock alloys, like aftermarket, the ones designed specifically for sports, they make them very, very light, no matter how big they look. But they're usually light, as in lighter than most of the ones manufacturers use on their cars. Because manufacturers are considering the weight of the body weight, the engine weight, and that. So they factor in the weight of the alloy, so they can make it a little bit heavier, just to be able to give them what they want on that car. But those ones they do for sports, the aftermarkets, they make it very, very light, because the lighter the vehicle, the faster the vehicle, the less fuel the car will burn at such high speed, so that you don't need to keep refueling your car at every when you complete track. So yeah, I'm not talking about such those performance ways that are light. I'm talking about the stock one. So if you, for example, you want to upgrade from 14 to 16. Personally, if I were to do it, I would probably look for aftermarket, not necessarily the first stock one. Let's assume it's the same engine in your car. You are not upgrading your engine or modifying it to have a little bit more power. So you want to put a bigger alloy rim. I'll go for aftermarket. The aftermarket, you can easily get a lighter one then, not the stock one. If you go and get the one maybe they built for the V6 of that Peugeot model, it will be much heavier. So it's going to, number one, reduce your vehicle speed. Doesn't matter how you want to look at it. The more weight on that car, the slower the car becomes. So likewise, it will make the car engine has to struggle to be able to propel the rim, because it's not heavier. So you are better off with aftermarket. The only time you could go for a stock one is when while you are getting a bigger one, then you could tweak your engine or tweak the transmission, because transmission can actually help to increase the engine power on the wheel, because there are some gearbox you could put on a car. It will reduce the power of the engine that goes to the wheel, while some transmission will help most of the power on the engine. If an engine is produced, if Peugeot says this engine maximum is 250 horsepower, most likely what the wheel will receive will be probably about 220 or 230. So there are some things you could do to that transmission. It could increase the power that goes to the wheel, which will make the car much faster. So but they have their reasons why they try not to get the full power. You have to apply. There are so many policies in countries where they market their products. So to be able to sell their products, they have to adopt and follow the rules. So they tend to reduce the power of the engine from getting to the way. Why in some countries they boost it and let it get there, as far as those laws are not there. So that's the main purpose of this video, is the other aspect of exceeding permitted load, or at least maximum load for each car. Look at even the tires. It's like this is even the most basic. Every tire has a maximum pressure it can handle. On the tire you could see they say 50 psi or thereabout. So when you exceed it, of course, it means anything can happen at that time. And most time won't happen when you're driving the street. Until you hit the highway, the tire becomes hot. You hit one pothole. It's only when you survive that you live to tell what you experience. So that's why there's always a limit to load you're supposed to put on. So I don't know. It depends. I could share some of the Peugeot recommended weight maybe later in the group or in the house, so that people will. But I know it might not make sense, because how would you know? How would you be able to weigh your car when you carry 500 kg of bag of flies in your boot? You probably might not know, but at least to give you an idea. Okay, if you have a 406 with 2.0 liter engine, even though the weight of that car is like 1,300 kg, and then Peugeot said, please do not exceed 1,900 kg. So you have your, common sense to tell you, okay, these are 4 adults, so probably they all weigh 80 to 100 kg. So if you are putting any other thing in the boot, you should use your number 6 to know that don't go beyond this. it's no longer about fuel now. Even if you can afford to burn that extra fuel, those roads you are putting, but it's about making that car safe so that you're able to get to where you're going, all of you, you know. Like I said, most time when accident, it's only people that experience accident that can actually tell, will understand what I'm saying. Because it's in a second. I've had accidents on few occasions. I don't want to get into that. But it kind of also made me, that's why most time people don't understand why I choose the cars I choose. Because I realize that it's not just about A to B. There are some things that can actually prevent a lot of things. So I realize that's what makes me choose some specification in a vehicle, so that no matter how good I am behind the wheels, I mean, the car can also help based on the suspension setup, some stuff, so I at least, add more, give you more opportunity to be able to handle some situations, So I could remember one I had with my 505 basis. I mean, the car, I just left the car to handle the situation on its own. I mean, it was like a head-on collision. I swerved out of the road. And as the car was just going, as in front was just shifting back and forth, as in the car was just about to somersault. All I did was let my leg, everything, both the steering wheel, it just stayed itself back straight on the road. Simply because that 505 V6, the suspension is different from the other 505 because they factored in that V6. Okay, it has more power, it has more HP, more torque, so many things. So they need to put something that can be able to, even if something happens, because they know it's going to be much faster than every other car. There's always a tendency to speed. So you need to put something that can, even the brakes, you need to see the brake on my 505 V6 completely different from the distance. The disc is like so massive and big, likewise the caliper. So my advice, apart from the fuel consumption, my advice is if you know the type you drive, if you have a particular, that if your driving style is always quick, I mean, you also start looking beyond just the engine. Because if you go and buy a 406 that is converted from 2.0 to 3.0, and you see what you want, power, without making sure that whoever that did the conversion also factored in or moved what the suspension that is supposed to be on that V6 to the vehicle, the project vehicle. If you survive in that car with the intention to be speeding as V6 user would do, you really need to go and thank your God, honestly. So those are things I wanted to point out. So it's not just fuel consumption, but then loads. I mean, you can tell once people stay too long. When you have carry too much load, you can hear the sound of your engine. It will be sounding a little bit dull, even though it feels more stable when there's too much load. Yeah, but you can tell how your engine struggles. It will no longer be as fast. You hearing one kind of drone noise. All those things is your fuel. It's telling on your fuel. Then when it's that stable, yes, it feels very heavy and you feel the car is now more stable to speed with. But what will now happen is because the suspension does not match that load. So when you need to stunt the steering, you see your car will start wavering because the suspension is not meant to carry that heavy. So it's only when you're on straight line that you feel that safe until something happens where the car will probably need to swerve and the rest. So I think basically that's why I really don't want to spend much time talking on this, so that maybe people might have questions. I know tomorrow is Saturday. A lot of people might want to go and do some repairs. So you can see if you have any comments what I just talked about, you can say that. And then any question regarding Peugeot comments or any other thing, yeah, you can go ahead, so that probably by 9 p.m. we'll wrap it up. So you can raise your hand. You can mute yourself.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to host this meeting. It's been I've been looking for such opportunities because I don't know that to say is the quality of fuel. I drive the Peugeot 307 SW TUJP5. Is it TUJP? Yes, that's the nomenclature of the engine. I don't know. I realized my MPG has been very, very, very poor recently. I know my car had start sometimes in the morning, and somehow I've been suspecting my fuel pump. And the mechanic also, a Peugeot mechanic drove my car and was complaining about that the movement is not as sharp as it should be. So he was suggesting that he would help me service my nozzles and injectors. Although I've already poured this total injector cleaner, but the same maintenance with my MPG is not giving me what I want.
Okay. I'm coming. Okay. So, have you scanned the car? Well, I mean, scan. I'm not talking about all this
Yes,
non-Peugeot
PP
scan too.
2000.
And
I use PP 2000 to scan
so,
it.
what does it show any error?
Nothing.
So, so of course, I know I've mentioned a few times something that can actually increase fuel consumption on a vehicle, mostly mechanical, that you won't find on the scan tool. Like, just assume you are still running with the recommended wheel size. What have you checked to see if any of the wheel is binding? There's always a way to do that.
Okay.
One is more, I would say, it's more strenuous to do, but it give you accurate results. That is, you jack each of the wheel. Don't do it in the morning. The wheel needs to be hot.
Okay.
Most time in the morning time, the wheels, when they are cold, they become freer. They will be very free until the brakes, the calipers, the flexible hose, and the rest become hot. Then, if any of them have issues, they start to manifest. So do it when the engine you run the vehicle. Not like start the car, leave it or no. You need to drive the car. Depending on the weather, ambient temperature, please close to 50 kilometers. Then jack each of the wheel one after the other. As each one you jack, you spin the wheel with your hand. If it's automatic, you put it on neutral before you jack the car so that the two front wheels will be free. It can still be on park anyway, but the point is when you spin it, you can tell if anyone has a resistance. Yeah, it will move, but if it doesn't move freely, you can feel it. Each wheel, if there's no binding on it, as you spin it, you see the tire will turn and gradually will stop. But the one that is binding, once you spin it, you just move like a little and stop very quickly. So no matter how small it is, it will tell on your fuel consumption. So that one is it's just a small strainer because you need to jack the car. That another easier way to do it, but just that you have to. Okay, it's not that hard, but if you drive that 50-kilometer drive, then make sure you don't drive it on highway. Drive in the city where you have to press brake, release, press brake, and release. Because you need the wheels to get warm. So park and then start touching each of the rims. If it's the alloy rim, don't touch the disc inside, just the rim. Touch each of them. All of the front one are expected to be a little bit warm once you've done that kind of kilometer. While the rear one, most time will stay cold because it's the front one that do most of the work. So if any of the four is hotter than the other, then that's the one that is fine.
Okay.
So it's a mechanical thing that can increase your fuel consumption. That's rapidly without even most people know it, and they feel the brakes are okay because once you gear the car in motion, the gearbox will force the wheel to rotate. The only time it will now reduce, like if for example, is that 307?
Yes.
307 because especially the T5, and the 407, 307 and 407, they have this when I say peculiar issue of sometimes they start applying brake themselves when the brake pump, the ABS pump or ABS block starts failing. Sometimes it will just look as if the brake is dying. Something is wrong with your caliper or this. It's actually your ABS block. It will just cut
Okay.
off. Sometimes it will cut off, or it will press the brake and hold it, even when you are not applying the brake pedal. You just hold it on one particular way, So, but the point is at least identify whether it's hot or not. So, if anyone feels hotter than that, then you know what your problem is. When you say fuel pressure, your fuel pump, all those things, see, you can't tell how good your fuel pump is because they disconnected the fuel hose from the fuel rail, switch on ignition, and fuel comes out. It's not enough. You said your car has started. So if you really want to know your pressure, if it's not up to
The sound struggles when I'm accelerating sometimes.
huh?
When I'm accelerating, when I just want to start accelerating from zero, when I'm climbing a hill, like it struggles. So I feel like I burn more fuel.
Well, my point is, changing fuel pump is not most Nigerians should most time we just waste money, keep changing only. What I mean fuel pump, I mean the fuel pump itself inside that fuel pump assembly.
Okay, that's what they call engine inside.
Yeah, that is actually the fuel pump. Is that that plastic is the assembly because it contains both the fuel pressure regulator, the fuel pump, and fuel sender. So yes, it doesn't make sense to go and change the entire assembly if the only thing that failed is the pump. Sometimes the fuel pressure regulator can fail and the fuel pump will be good. So what I've observed, in fact, from experience, that what most Nigerians do, when I'm talking about the mechanics now, technicians, usually they just focus only on the pump, even when the fuel pressure regulator fails. So when the fuel pressure regulator fails, what will now happen is you switch on ignition, the first few seconds, you try to push the, spin the fuel pump to push and cut off. Immediately it gets to 50 psi, it goes back to zero. So when you now crank the engine will not start. That first crank. The fuel pressure regulator is what is supposed to help and maintain the pressure on the fuel rate to 50 psi. All Peugeot cars that are not turbocharged engines, especially the ones produced from late 90s till date, it must be 50 psi for the car to be able, the injector to be able to do, just the 4 injectors to do their work. So changing the fuel pump when the fuel pressure regulator is bad, it will give you the same symptom because the injector will not be able to spray fuel well. Then the fuel pressure, the car will also be starting. So if you really want to know how good your, I would just say fuel pressure, not necessarily fuel pump. You need fuel pressure tester or fuel pressure, fuel pressure tester. That's basically the name. When you put it, I think I've done videos on that. When you put it, you switch on ignition, start the vehicle. From there, the fuel pressure tester will tell you if there's a fuel pressure issue, it will tell you whether it's fuel pump that is causing it or fuel pressure regulator. So from there, you know which one you are dealing with.
Okay.
Most times, most of the diagnosis I've done with all the fuel pressure issue, usually sometimes not even the pump, but the fuel pressure regulator. The only unfortunate thing is if the regulator fails, you will have to change, depending on the model of that fuel pump assembly. You will be forced to change the entire assembly.